Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is is pretty good. It's it's beautiful outside right now. It's been for 2 days after that weird freeze we had. Hopefully, it's continues to stay beautiful until early May is when the rains will start, and they'll last for a month or two. But whatever. I don't mind rain. But things are good. I've been trying to be more positive. I think that's obvious. I think if you've watched for any amount of time, you'll know that this journey of self improvement has involved a lot of positive thinking, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm being overly positive. I think that there is value in healthy skepticism or healthy. There's a healthy level of suspicion, I guess. Caution? Yeah, caution. Let's go with caution. I would say that for my entire life, I have I have always been pessimistic, and I've used it as a self-defense mechanism. I've used pessimism to save myself from feeling hurt, because if I lived by the theory that if you expect the worst, you're never gonna be surprised by it. Uh, and it's true, but it really dampens your ability to feel good about things, whatever those things might be. So, uh, that whole like live a miserable existence. That's like my parents' generation, right? Like their parents lived that way. They lived that way. Maybe not their parents. Their parents lived okay. My grandparents. Um, Neither set of them were wealthy, but they did fine, and they did fine on a single income. They didn't both have to work. They had houses. They both sets had a house, cars. They were raised children successfully, food, all that stuff, on very little money. And then during my parents' generation, that economic stuff started to shift, and my mom started having to work. And then, by the time we get to me, like it's basically impossible to survive on a single salary unless you're in, you know, unless that single person is doing six figures. In this area, it would require maybe not six figures. I mean, we survived on my $50,000 a year income for a long time, uh, but that actually it was less than that. It was more like 35,000 or whatever. Uh, it's just not good, right? It's not a good way to survive. So that pessimism, that living in fear, it takes a toll. And I think that my gray hair is part of that. I've basically just lived to, though I am a dreamer, I've never allowed myself to believe that my dreams would come true. I just thought this would be really great someday, and then went about living life as if everything was going to go wrong. And for most of my life, things went wrong, and maybe I manifested that into the world. I don't know. I don't have a vision board or anything like that. But I think there is a healthy level of pessimism. But at the same time, things have been going so good for me over the last few years. It's hard to really, it's hard to stay pessimistic. Right? I'm doing good emotionally, mentally, physically, financially. I'm doing good. Things are okay. And that's a weird place to find myself settled at 44, that suddenly life got a little bit easier. Uh, I'm not doing great, we're not taking trips every weekend, and my kids aren't driving new cars, and I'm not driving, I'm still driving a 20-year-old car, not 20-year-old, but 15-year-old car. I have no plans of buying anything new. I have no desire to take on a payment. I probably could afford it, but I don't want it. I would rather take that money, put it in a bank, and then turn that into extra money, turn that into investments and stuff. But I'm doing good. And it's sometimes hard to accept it, right? It's sometimes hard to accept that this could be the rest of my life. I could be doing good for the rest of my life. I probably will be doing pretty good for the rest of my life. Em and I, we're very different people, but we also have very common goals and very common likes, but she's, we're emotionally, mentally, physically different, right? But we're both very practical people, and we're not going to allow ourselves to slip backwards. That's not going to happen. We're only going to continue to improve so that we can live that better life. And I feel like, for one, I feel extremely thankful for her. She's an amazing partner and is very supportive and very encouraging. And I think that together we create an entity that is beyond anything I could have imagined, and that's excellent. But I also think that I think about the future being positive would not be possible without her in my life right now. And yeah, I'm not trying to say that it's literally her, like her the person, not her the concept. Like it's literally who she is and how we interact that has propelled me a little bit more forward than I ever have been, and that's absolutely wonderful. So everything's good. It's good on a weird level, right? It's good to know that I can pay my bills when I get them. I can send my kids to, my oldest is, or my youngest is going to Disney. It was no problem to pay for that trip. My oldest is going to prom. It was no problem to pay for her dresses and stuff. Taking her to New York, no big deal. Like we're doing good. Like we're doing just things that I only dreamed about doing 5 or 6 years ago. Just things that I thought were so far out of reach that it's kind of baffling. I look around this shop and I am inspired in here. I come in here and I see things that I want to do and create and enjoy. But I also see a lot of stuff that I have hand-me-down stuff, like my bandsaw. This bandsaw is garbage. It was literally garbage. When I got it, the wheels were broken and taped back together, so they were out of balance and terrible. And I've pieced it all back together. I got it for free. The guy who had it said it was just junk and he wanted to get rid of it, and I made it work. And it works okay. I mean, it's a bandsaw. I can't get the blade tight enough to actually cut cleanly. It's just terrible. But for all of these years that I've had it, it was the only option I could afford. My jointer, I have a little 4-inch Harbor Freight old school jointer. I actually like it. I actually like that small tool. I don't need a big thing, but it has issues that, it's just not well made, right? My chop saw, I hate it. I absolutely hate this thing. It's garbage. Do not buy an Evolution miter saw. It's the least accurate thing I've ever used in my life. Those three things in particular, I really, really would love to have upgrades for. I don't necessarily need a bigger jointer, but I'd like to have a helical head. I don't necessarily need a bigger bandsaw. I just need one that has a good tensioning system, has better dust collection, has better adjustments for the table and the blade guides. I don't need, I just need a chop saw that works, that cuts 90 degrees. And I could do that right now. I could afford that. Maybe not all three at once. Well, I definitely couldn't buy all three at once. But I could afford to go buy a new bandsaw. I have that. I could do that. Not going to, but I could. And when I got this thing, I was so thankful to have it. I had never used a bandsaw in my life. I used this and was like, this is the most amazing tool. I can't believe I've waited this long in my life to have a bandsaw. And I was so super appreciative to have it and so excited. I spent the money to buy a wheel. I had to shim it because it doesn't fit the shaft of the motor. I had to make a shim for that and do all that setup stuff. But it was just such an amazing relief. And the idea of being able to someday replace it was just like a distant, distant, distant dream. Far, far away. And now I'm in a place where I could do that, but I'm not going to because I'm responsible. I'm taking the extra money that I have very, very, very seriously, very responsibly. It's going to shore up my future and my children's future because for most of my adult life I haven't had a whole lot of options. I had to cash out retirements to pay bills. I don't have a safety net. But that's okay because it's going pretty good. And I can be positive about where I'm at right now, and I can be positive about where I'm headed. And maybe there's room in my life for some optimism. I know there's room in my life for optimism, and to be honest, I haven't experienced a whole lot of pessimism for years now. I haven't experienced that gut punching pessimism for a long time. It's felt really good. I hope I can stay on this ride for a long time. I hope that I can keep figuring out ways to be more successful. Not because I want to live in a mansion, but because I want to secure our future, my family's future. Okay, that's enough being sappy. I hope to have a great weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. We are doing some traveling this weekend, just for not really. I mean, we're driving for a party kind of thing. Hopefully, I can figure out a way to rig up a camera and get some shots. And I have a whole toolkit of GoPro stuff. I need to figure out how to get something mounted so that I can get some good road shots and stuff. So, what do you got going on? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know sounds smart is quiescent. It is an adjective meaning being at rest, inactive, or motionless. There's a brief time for sex and a long time when sex is out of place. But when it is out of place and is an activity, there still should be a large and quiet space in the consciousness where it lives quiescent. D.H. Lawrence, a British author. I have no idea what that means. Quiescent. Quiescent. I am very often quiescent. That quote I have... I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me.